inside another dimension, face battling barbarians and evil magic on a quest for adventure in a maze of monsters. Once you get into it, you'll never be the same. Hero Quest. Now with 2 new adventure packs, the legend grows.
Hi, welcome back to Not Your Mother's Hobbies. This week, we're going to look at another of the mini-expansions, the Rogue Heir of Elethorn. Big long name for a rogue class, brand new to Hero Quest, never was in the original, and looking pretty cool. I really like this sculpt. I think the posing is awesome, the character design is cool. Not a fan of the browns, but let's see what we can do about that in the painting, make it look interesting. Let's go. Alright, so speaking of browns, we're going to do brown. We're going to start off with snake body leather and just put that all over the coat, anywhere that is going to be this drab brown or this leather brown, kind of Indiana Jonesy brown. That's how I pictured this guy when I was painting him. He's like an Indiana Jones style adventurer, very rustic. You can see that I'm leaving the trim, and that's because he's got a gold trim. So just eyeball it and do your best, and you can always touch it up later. But I'm trying to leave that trim because later we're going to do it in gold. Switching around to the front now, we're going to do some black Templar on the belts and loops and all that leather swag he's got going on. This is going to be really helpful to make him not look overly brown, because he already is pretty brown. But yeah, by doing this black on there, not only is it in the artwork, but it's also going to be a lot more visible and stand out as details on there. Then we're going to do a dry brush of white over top of kind of everything we've already done. We're going to start, or at least I started, with the blacks. So to just get some extra detail on there. You don't want it to be washed out entirely by the black here. And so we're just going to lightly dry brush over that. But also the coat a little bit. If you feel like it's too washed out with that snake bite, you can see here, I'm putting some on the coat. Here we got Nuln Oil, and we're going to tone down all that rough dry brush highlighting we just did. And that's going to bring in some mid-tone kind of area to this very dark color. It's going to pop out some of those details, and then this Nuln Oil is just dimming it down, muting it down, so it's not entirely just bright white. We're going to do the same thing with the snakebite leather, and here you can see I am watering it down because it's going to be too dark and opaque. And we just need it as a little glaze, a little wash to tint the dry brushing that we did. Here you can see that I am reinforcing the shadows of this cloak. So not only did we brighten it up with that quick dry brush and then a glaze, but we're also going in and painting in and reinforcing the shadows. So really underneath the bag, under the arms, in all the crevices, and this is going to add a lot of really, I guess, stark contrast. It's going to really deepen the details. Wraithbone here to do some cleanup, because we're always making mistakes here. Gotta clean them up. No stress, just try again. And here, just like I was talking about, you can clean up that little trail, that little outline, the detailing on the cloak as well. So try your best, but you don't have to be perfect. Agrax Earthshade here is going to be on his like gaiters, right? He's wearing some kind of leather leg protection over top of his pants. So we're going to do that with a wash or two of Agrax Earthshade. Basilicanum Grey now coming on for all of the metallics. So this is our usual go-to for steel metallics, and we're just putting that all on there. He's got a lot of little knives and belt buckles and whatnot, so just take your time, go around, spot him out, and pop him in there. Nuln Oil now, and we're using this for his pants. So he's got some gray pants underneath, and what better way to do that than Nuln Oil, and that'll give us a shade and a mid-tone. We're also going to use this for the fur around his jacket, and that's because he's got blonde hair. So having a brown fur up there is just going to blend too much with his blonde hair, so we're using black. You can see here we're using Black Templar again, and that's because I noticed a detail. He's got a little bit of a collar of a shirt or something peeking out under his neck. So just go in really detailed, real careful. You don't have to do this part if you're not feeling confident, but if you're feeling brave, get in there, try it out. Guilliman flesh now for our flesh. He's got some pale elven flesh going on. So we're going to start that with Guilliman, as well as block in our golds, which includes all that coat trim and this little emblem he's got on his chest. Skeleton horde now for a nice sandy blonde hair. Just put that all around. And now we're layering up with that gunmetal over top all of our Basilicanum Gray blocked in metals. So he's got these little booty tips, his little, I guess you would say the shin kickers or the shit kickers. He's got those little booty tips. He's got all his daggers, his knives, his buckles and belts because he's edgy. But go around and get all those metallic parts. Then we put that Nuln Oil gloss right on top to help blend it all in. Give it a nice shiny sheen coat, everything that we cheaped out on. And all those metallics are going to be really shiny. Retributor armor for our gold. That includes all the trim. Don't forget the trim and the little details on his chest and whatnot. Just go around, find all the little spots, and do them up. Now he has a lot of little details all over him. So just take your time. Go around, keep looking. You don't want to forget them. If you do forget them, it's fine. But like you want to get it all done at the same time, you know. So just go around, eyeball it, keep track. He's got all these little findly little bits. And when you're all finished, slap on that Reikland Flesh Shade gloss. And again, I said this in a previous video. I'm aware it has discontinued the gloss versions of these shades. You can just use Reikland Flesh Shade and Nuln Oil regular and put a gloss varnish on top, whether that's Ard Coat or whatever have you. You could even mix it in as well and make your own. So keep that in mind whenever I'm using these gloss shades. You can do your own. Now we're using Wraithbone here in a different way, not for cleanup or touch-ups, but we're using it to highlight up those what are they, gaiters? I think they're gaiters. I don't know what they're called. Things you put over your pants. Well, we're highlighting up those things, that leg leathery armor, whatever have you, protection, and we're doing it with the Wraithbone, as well as putting in some first layer highlights in his hair. Then we have Gray Seer here making a quick appearance as just a simple highlight for those gray pants we did, as well as a little bit of touch up on the jacket he's got here on the inside. Then we're using Gunmetal. This is just to clean up the Nuln Oil gloss that we did. It was a little too washed out. Same with the Retributor. We're going to do that a little later. But I felt like the washes kind of did a little too spotty of a job. And so we're just touching them up and cleaning them up some areas that could use a bit more of a cleaner coat. So we did that both with the Gunmetal and the Retributor on this guy in particular. If you ever feel that that's the case on your miniature, do not be afraid to just do another coat and clean that up. Because the washes don't always go perfect, and if you've got a mid-tone to go over it, you're good to go. With metallics, that's easy peasy. We got Cadian Fleshstone here. You can see I'm cleaning up that hand. There was a lot of smushy staining because of the contrast paint. That happens sometimes. I mean, if you've been following along long enough, you've probably been using these paints long enough to discover that yourself. And yeah, you just paint it over and clean up those smushy parts, as well as doing your mid-tone, as well as doing your highlight. You can see here, I put some Reikland Flesh Shade on the face because I felt like my Cadian, my layering washed him out a little too bit. It flattened him too much. And so I'm just going in, you can see I'm wiping off the most raised areas because I just want that Reikland Flesh Shade in the shadows. I felt it muted him too much Took away that contrast, flattened him too much, and that's why we did that. We got Kislev flesh here, doing that for our first layer highlight. Looking pretty good, coming along good. He's got a lot of really nice facial detail. I really dig this model. Maybe it's just elves in particular, but they have a lot of really nice pointy features in the face that make it nice and easy to highlight and get that kind of sharp detail in there. Pallid Witch Flesh last for our final highlight, our most shiny, sheen, keen highlight, the one I like to do the most, our gristly, greasy highlight. But yes, we're going to put in those final brightest highlights and really make those details pop. Not a lot of extra touches on this guy, but we've got bold titanium white. This is going to be for his hair sheen highlights, as well as brightening up his fur coat. I do not show it, but do not forget to do that. Paint in that detail, paint in those highlights, and really make that fur stand out. Then another little extra detail is, of course, our chrome, making that metal shiny as heck. So we're going to do the coat, the trim. This is really going to make that trim stand out by doing chrome on that, as well as all the little gold bits, adding some chrome little highlights, some little sheens, and all the steel metallics. Like the edge of the knife, we're going to really paint in some chrome and make it, like, this knife has a really nice flat edge, the one that he's holding with the back grip. And so painting that up is going to make that knife edge really stand out, really look good. As well as any of his little daggers and stuff on his belt, it'll make that all stand out a lot. They won't get lost. Then we do our basing as normal. Paint on a gray, do some texture paint, some washes, some dry brushes, and you're done. There you have it, the Rogue Heir of Elethorn, our elven prince on the run. I really like how this came out. I didn't like the artwork at first. I thought it was too boring, too bland, but I feel like a lot of times, whether it's a sculpt you're not a fan of, or even the reference artwork you're not a fan of, once it's painted, you're kind of in control of how that can look and how that's gonna, the final product's gonna be, right? You can make a sculpt you don't like really stand out by having a really dynamic paint job, and you can make a paint job or a reference you don't really like by either changing the paint entirely or really boosting what you're doing and trying some different things. And let's not forget to mention that this is a pack with a male and a female sculpt. So here's the female sculpt, looking pretty cool. Real big fan of how they kind of just swapped the directions, right? They're facing, but it keeps the same feel. Really dig it. Yeah, ended up being a fan of this miniature by the end. Really cool. Really loved it. Let me know how you felt in the comments down below. Are you excited for what's coming next? We're doing the Mage of the Mirror. What are you looking forward to in Mage of the Mirror? We got some wolves. We got a whole schwack of elves, like a lot. A lot of elves. And we got some ogres as well. So what are you looking forward to there? Have you been following along? Where are you in your Hero Quest journey? And yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Check me out on Twitch if you like games, and bye-bye!